Ballyhoo and welcome. The Passion Project continues. My name is Remedy Robinson. I'm a linguist, published author, and I'm finally on the mend. Woof. It's been a week. And this is an appreciation. This is an exploration of linguistics, language, and sly euphemism as framed by the peerless poetry of the modern day master, Elvis Costello. Today's slow drag is with No Dancing from My Aim is True, released in 1977. The songwriting is credited to Elvis Costello. This piece packs a punch with its wily ways of power dynamics, its complicated negotiation of power distance, and its seemingly straightforward euphemisms that, when deconstructed, fracture into many sharp shards for our amusement. I know it's been said a million times before, but can you believe that this piece was written before Mr. Costello was 23 years old? Simply remarkable. Oh, I know that she has made a fool of him, like girls have done so many nights before, time and time again. Now, he's so strange, I don't know why, but somebody has to cry. There's gonna be no dancing when they get home. The plaintive start to this piece, the weary sounding "oh," might well give away any false bravado that floats throughout the rest of this complicated first verse. Told in the first person, with phrases such as "I know" and "I don't know why," the narrator nevertheless remains outside of the action by referring instead to she and to him. This sort of narration is not uncommon in Mr. Costello's canon. Oh no, it's a great lesson to writers and poets alike who tend to wallow at the nerve endings of emotion rather than maintain a more suitable distance in order to observe the action better with a lot less bathos and a little more pathos. Very often, our first impulse upon hearing the information laid out in this verse is to draw a mental image of a heartless woman, a femme fatale. This quickly gives way, however, to the understanding that, whoever she is, she's not the first, nor probably the last, to make a fool of him, mainly because he is the one inflicting this humiliation upon himself, lashing out in ways that we have all seen and have probably involved ourselves in somewhere down the line. So, of course, it's a pretty easy assumption that no dancing is a thinly veiled reference to sex, a mere euphemism. Even from the very beginning, it can't be overstated, however, not everything is exactly as it appears between these sheets. Much like the perpetrator of this indignity, if we jump to conclusions, we might miss so much of the joy that keeps these words alive 40 some years later. Along with other reasonable assumptions packed into this first verse. It's also feasible to accept that the man and the woman are going to the same home. Given the tumult of the proceedings, however, it is possible to assume they don't know each other at all, let alone live together. Thus, just maybe, this twists the notion of dancing as sex into dancing as mere self gratification, failed gratification at that, perhaps. Or this is the home truth result of trying to cheat and coming home late. All this ambiguity and intrigue has been laid out in 8 recursive lines, and I am certain there are still more iterations of this scenario that have yet to be considered here. The chorus after the first verse repeats how there'll be no dancing, and then ends with how there'll be no dancing when they get home. This, most assuredly, will come up again shortly and cleverly. Now he's telling her every little thing he's done. Once he glanced at the jackets of some paperbacks. Now he's read every one. He's such a drag. He's not insane. It's just that everybody has to feel his pain. There's gonna be no dancing when they get home. Having now dispensed with the first person narration, we're plunged deep into the machinations of human relationships. To whom exactly is he confessing? Is it the woman who made a fool of him? Well, of course it is, because they have all made a fool of him. Yet in reality, the woman did no such thing, as it was more than likely a product of his strange personality. It's quite remarkable how, in these first two verses, the blame game is merely feeble projection. It always comes back to his shortcomings and not anything to do with anything that anyone else has done. This motif of writing strong and complicated women who are more than mere objects flows right over this piece and straight on through to Hedy O'Hara. The gorgeous line, once he glanced at the jackets of some paperbacks, now he's read every one. In a career filled with one quotable line after another, this was one of my early favorites, and it still holds a warm place in my heart. I used to think of it as superficial knowledge, getting by on a few clever words here or there, but then realizing you have to put in the work. I still like that as a personal motto, yet there are so many more interpretations I know, notably strained fidelity that has finally been abandoned for want of flipping through a few pages. He's getting down on his knees. He finds that the girl is not so easy to please. Oh, after all, his nights were just a paper strip tease. She's caught it like some disease. If he says no dancing, there's gonna be no dancing. There's gonna be no dancing on my own. It's difficult to tell what she has caught, but the revelation of how his nights were just a paper strip tease calls back to the last verse of Paperbacks nicely, yet it still remains opaque enough to tantalize. Notice how no dancing when they get home has changed to no dancing on my own. The revision this piece takes is mathematical in its precision, and yes, on his knees, finding she's not so easy to please. Now hold on to your first euphemism, please, because true to all other euphemisms in this piece, it's about to have more layers draped upon it. She can't even speak to him. He can't face her now. He says, even though I want to shake your hand, all I ever do is bow. So now you see how it can be. Why can't you give me anything but sympathy? 4 verses in, and we're still not sure who has the upper hand, if indeed there is an upper hand to be gained. She can't speak to him, but is it because she's mad, or is it because he won't allow her to speak? Or is it because he's not there? He can't face her, so maybe his confession is made in a vacuum or at some distance. Down on his knees is given a new context into the subservient bow he now takes. The idiom, bow the knee, can be taken both literally and figuratively. It seems they will never be equals. To end this complicated piece with the rhetorical, why can't you give me anything but sympathy, throws the preceding lines out of kilter once again. Throughout this piece, The notification that there will be no dancing feels like a proclamation, but then again, it feels like a resignation as well, especially when the request for sympathy and the aforementioned no dancing on my own instead of when they get home. This piece swings back and forth between bravery and indifference, depending on which verse is stuck in your head, depending upon what your imagination draws from your own personal experiences, perhaps. There's gonna be no dancing on my own. Dig it. Again, this has been a slow drag with no dancing from 1977's My Aim is True. It's just another great example of how an Elvis Costello piece can mean many things to many people. In his 2015 autobiography, Unfaithful Music and Disappearing Ink, Mr. Costello addressed how No Dancing's album mate, the song Allison, came about. I have no explanation for why I was able to stand outside reality and imagine such a scene, he wrote. Very early on, Mr. Costello continued, I could sense there were people out there who perhaps really did harbor misogynistic feelings. Of all the strange slights and underserved accolades attached to my name over the years, misogynist is the one term I find the most bewildering. Instead of violence that many heard in the refrain of Allison, I know this world is killing you, he reportedly only heard culpability. Threads of this philosophy seem to run through his work to this day. Culpability. Funny, of all the thousands of novel words that he has put into his lyrics, I don't believe culpability has ever been one of them. This is just another example of how a good writer knows how to show rather than simply tell. And that's it for today's slow drag, my friend. Thank you for listening. I encourage you to re-listen to episode 22 of Slow Drag with Remedy and his castanets. It's a slow drag with Waiting for the End of the World. And episode 36, It's the Way That You Are. It's a slow drag with Miracle Man. Both episodes are slow drags with more gems from My Aim is True. You can find us on social media. On Instagram, simply search for my name, Remedy Robinson, or search for the name of the podcast, Slow Drag with Remedy. We're also on Twitter at Slow Drag Remedy. Give us a follow. Say hello. We follow back. Also, please visit slowdragwithremedy.com. You can use the contact page to send a message with your comments, questions, and importantly, interpretations of your own. I'd love to hear them. And as always, thank you so much for getting the word out about this little passion project. Your kind comments and favorable ratings are so very much appreciated. Truly, it means the world. So, until next time, adieu, my little ballyhoo. Slow Drag with Remedy.